Howdy ho, neighborinos. What's going on, my oakley dokleys? Don't ask. What is up, everyone? And everyone's like, who the heck is this guy? What's he doing talking? And how do I kill him? Well, secret of my defeat, I'm afraid, must remain a closely guarded secret for all time. That there. Looks like we appear to be live. Yep, we're live. Okay, fantastico. Hey everyone, welcome to It's okay, Sonashi. Soon you too will join with the rest of us. Welcome to among my favorite zones in Warlords. And it's not like my favorite. Shadow Moon and Frostfire basically battle it out for my favorite zone in this game. Having gone through both of them recently, I'd say, even though I like some stuff of the Horde better, I like some other stuff of the Alliance better, and really the two kind of just even out in the end. But, of those two, Spires of Arak definitely takes the number 2 spot for me. It's not like I don't like Gorgrond, and I sort of like Nagrand, and Talador has some good stuff with the Demon Chain. But Arak is pretty much just solid gold all the way throughout, from the beginning until the end. In fact, this is also the other zone that has the quest chain that goes directly into dungeons, so that's neat. But part of the reason I like Arak so much is it has tons and tons of world building. It probably actually has the most chunk of world building amongst the various zones and warlords, because this place really helps to establish the Arakkoa, the Apexis, and a lot of things with regards to everything associated with them, including Tarok, Anzu, Rukhmar, Seath. I usually try to say Seth, but it is actually apparently pronounced Seath. So that would technically make it Seathic Halls back in BC. Which I've never called it that ever. I've always called it Sethic Halls. So forgive me if I call it Seth and Sethic, because I've been calling it that for like 8 years now. Anywho, so we get a lot of backstory about all that stuff. So let's ride our Gron in here. Oh, I know Reach is not on, but I wanted to give a big public thanks to Reach Network, one of my viewers, in the same vein that I did to The One Joker. This suit right here is, of course, the slut suit that The One Joker donated so much money for, and I am very, very thankful for that. In honor and gratitude towards Reach, who donated lots and lots of money towards the... towards the...
Oh, I have just the thing.
Crayola suit. For the remainder of the Lorerun, barring certain unusual circumstances, we're actually going to go ahead and be wearing the Crayola suit in honor of his contributions. I think it's that one. So thank you again, Reach. If you ever watch this on the VODs, or if I ever see you again, you know, lots and lots of thank yous for your aid in this matter. And hey, Enigma, I have not seen you on in some time. I'll go back, because that just looks ridiculous. Let's see. I had the big bright gold ones, didn't I? Yeah, there we go. They must fit as little as possible. Oh, there we go, blue. And for weapon, what's the most ridiculous weapon I've got right now? Hey, Big Bed. There we go. Perfecto.
Farewell, friend of the Grummels.
I don't know how warm or cold that is psychotic, but that is way too humid. I hope everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend. I know not all of you have a Memorial Day weekend, but I hope you all had a good Memorial Day weekend regardless. It's the whole Thanksgiving thing all over again. You don't need to actually have Thanksgiving for me to wish you a good Thanksgiving. So here we are. Here's the Crayola suit in all its wonderful glory. She is truly a modern masterpiece, as you can see. I think the gigantic belt really helps with that situation. Yeah. And yes, many, many thanks to Hylisk as well. I know you'll be seeing this at some point in the future, so I want to give a lot of thanks to you again, Hylisk, for donating this mount so we could do the transmogs on the fly. That has been super helpful this entire lore run. And thanks to Hylisk for something else that'll happen later. That's probably not happening for a couple of days, but, you know, we'll get to that. And in honor of the recent donation, we'll be wearing the Gronling as our mount for a bit here. And then we will switch over to Invincible for the end of it. So, right, we got a quest to go here. I assume you're familiar with the Arakkoa, Commander. Great flying bird folk, territorial. Some, however, have withered wings, a disease, maybe. They seem to be outcast from Arakkoa society. You find them now and then, squatting into forgotten rooms, peddling trinkets on the roadside. Seems the Iron Horde incited the Arakkoa by moving into their lands, and the outcasts are fleeing in droves. We should make contact with these outcasts. They could have valuable information. Sorry, I have not read Zibeldon. No, sorry. I wasn't ignoring your question. I just had to think about it for a minute. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying your job, Enigma. Don't get in trouble. Don't worry, we're fairly safe here. So, here we go. As you can see, there's a bunch of outcasts flowing. I heard Zakra and her followers barely made it into Talador before the orcs got them. So what happened here? Oh, hang on. Perhaps we should have thrown our lot in with Icus. You remember Icus from BC? Nonsense. I'd sooner die than bend knee to that lunatic. What then? Join Iskar's full crusade? Stand up against the adherents? We'd only get in his way. Hi's the one Joker. Bye's the one Joker. So, a little bit of backstory on what exactly has happened here. So, let's see. I am not interested in the Warhammer Fantasy version. I don't think I own the game. Hang on, let me double check here. Pretty sure I don't own it. Oh. Yeah. I'm apparently updating The Witcher 3. Pause. Okay, do I own Warhammer Whatchafig? Looks like I don't, okay. Close that out. So, what was happening here is the Spires of Arak was home to the... they're actually referred to as the Adherents of Rukhmar is the official name for the organization. It's the group I've been referring to consistently as the Highborn. Shut up. No, stop. This is the group I've been consistently referring to as the Highborn. Reparation after Bloodmist? Grey Wolf? Any, really. I mean, at this point in time, there's, in my opinion, there's very few things such things as bad zones in the 1 through 60 experience. So the Adherents of Rukhmar is the name for the organization of the Highborn, and they have kind of been just doing their thing until the Iron Horde decided to invade this western coast over here, setting up in Blademist Hold. They've been sent, the Shattered Hand clan specifically, to go into them. We'll see more of that as we actually go through here. And so what that did was, now you might think, oh, aha, of course the Iron Horde invade, and of course that causes so much problems because it forces all of these, these outcasts, and that's technically true. What actually happened, see, the Adherents of Rukhmar are a religious zealot organization. And I mean very religious. This is one of those, oh, well, something bad is happening to us, and that means you have been unfaithful and unloyal, and we must punish the infidels. Is that kind of a situation. So what happened is they cast a fairly large number of Arakkoa down into the pits of Seath, I'll talk more about that later. And that created a lot more of these broken Arakkoa. These outcasts is what they're actually referred to. These guys right here. The wingless, or the diseased. And they were doing that basically as like, alright, so all of you, here you go. It's clearly their fault. That's the reason why the Iron Horde are invading, is because of these guys. So they're actually being driven out by the adherents who have been spurred into this by the Iron Horde. So, hey Fab Alex, I haven't seen you in a bit. And yes, we apparently have quality options, which is awesome. However, it is completely hit or miss. Basically, whether or not we have quality options depends on Twitch's mood at the time. I still do not have a partnership, and at this point, I probably never will. So, you know. Sure. With that said, why don't we go ahead and see what's going on here? Ah, an exotic traveler from the north. Come! Have a look at my wares. I'm not going to do a proper Arakkoa voice because it would kill me. If you don't know what I mean, this is an Arakkoa voice.
Shadows gather. I have a few odds and ends for sale. You buy?
Yeah, so.
What are we without the sky?
Well equipped, are we? Azek is betting you're someone of importance to your people. Come closer, friend. Speak with me for a moment.
Keep to the shadows.
My people flee our homelands in droves. I sell trinkets to ease the journey. But I see you are not interested in trinkets. Oh, sorry. No, what you seek are answers. Skedis lies just ahead. Once a great city built by Tarok as a refuge for the unwanted. Now it is a ruined slum. An old storyteller lives there, a scrollkeeper named Rashad. Find him and speak these words, shadows gather. He will know you are a friend, and now go. Your presence is bad for business.
The Talon King will guide us.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean by that, Ner'zhul. We'll see. So I'm just going to keep the camera angled up for no reason. That's Skyreach up there, by the way. And that's their death laser. They just fired on Vale Azkaz. Or Akraz, excuse me. Don't worry. We'll actually go to Vale Akraz later. Yeah. Remember how I mentioned that whole punish people because something's going wrong? That's kind of what just happened there. Hey, Craze. As an aside, do you see that spire and that spire? That's all that's left of the Adherents of Rukhmar. I kind of point this out because, yeah, let's leave the cutscene music here. I kind of point that out because of the fact that they're, you know, we mentioned earlier, no, they're clinging to a dying empire. As it was pointed out, it's more like they're clinging to a dying village. They really have very, very little left. In fact, if you look at the overall terrain, even considering MMO's size, the outcasts down here on the ground actually have more terrain, more villages, larger cities, etc., than the adherents do up on the spire of Skyreach there. Basically, imagine... I've really got to stress this. Because this is just the severity of the level of the Adherents of Rukhmar. So, the venerated Highborn leaders... it's all the religious caste, by the way. It is worth noting not all the Highborn agree with the religious caste's decisions, okay? That is something worthy of note. And that'll be relevant later, especially when we get over to Tanan Jungle. But anyways, so the leaders of the Adherents of Rukhmar, the religious leaders, they have this basically what's effectively a city amongst an entire nation. And all that nation consists of people who are the degenerates and the unfaithful and all that crap, right? And they constantly insist that only the truly good be up here, and it's one of those self-fulfilling things. Oh my god, the music's still continuing. I'm just gonna cut that off for a second. It's one of those self-fulfilling situations, because their logic is such as this. Only good things happen to good people. If something bad happens to you, you're a bad person. Therefore, all the toil and suffering that the people down here suffer, because they live on the ground in Draenor, and we've already talked about how Draenor is a very inhospitable land in general, then obviously they're bad people. And so we need to keep being up here, but anytime anything bad happens up here, well, it's the fault of the people in question. And there's some really weird cultural stuff when it comes to the Highborn. For example, one of the things that happens amongst them is they bind you with someone when you're born, basically. I don't mean romantically. This is not betrothing. I mean, it's basically like enforced nakama. This is your bondmate. Now, the weird thing about the way this works is, and their logic is so self-defeating when you really think about it. If one of these two people does something good, well, then the other one gets the glory and the praise and the payment for it as well, because logically the only reason one of them would be able to do it is if the other was also a part of it. But that goes for bad stuff, too. If one of them does something bad, or if one of them is punished, the other one must be punished in equal measure, because after all, logically, the only way one person could ever do something is if they were in cahoots with someone else, right? Hi, Notherzim. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'd have to think a long time about that. Nagrin, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to think. Yeah, so they have this backwards ass culture. I'm just going to call it that. I mean, I tend to be pretty tolerant and understanding, and I even find certain cultures fascinating despite them being horrible, like the ogres of the Gorian Empire and the ancient ogre empire. But I look at the Highborn, the Adherents of Rukhmar, and I'm just shaking my head like, you guys are nuts. What is wrong with you people? Oh my god. You know, they also do this thing. It's great. There's only actually one punishment they have. I'm serious. They have one punishment. And that punishment is to be have your wings clipped and to be cast down from the spires into the pools of Sethek. In other words, so for those of you not aware of what the curse is, I should explain that a little bit. I'll talk a little bit more about it in depth later. We'll actually be going to the pools themselves. You see these guys? These are a consequence of the curse. In other words, they are Arakkoa who cannot fly. There's other aspects to it, but that is the most important aspect. They lose the ability to fly. Their wings stop working, and they become diseased and rotten, and they can no longer take to the skies. So, the leaders who live way up on a spire, where the only method of reaching it... This is not a joke, by the way. The only method of getting up here is flying. There is no land method of any significance because of the severity of the cliffs. Now I know what you're thinking. You know, it is theoretically possible that you could probably climb up these, and I'll adhere to that. But the idea, even in lore, is that these spires are supposed to be so unscalable because of the nature of their verticality and whatnot, that the only way it's supposed to be up here is flying. And so the only punishment they have is removing your ability to fly. It's actually kind of worse than banishment, if you think about it, or excommunication. Which is one of those weird punishments that some people don't really realize how horrible that was back in the day, when being on your own outside of a community usually meant slow and terrible death because you would suddenly lack the ability to do basic things like eat and sleep properly. So yeah, now you might wonder what that whole thing is here. Well, this is funny. This is not an Arakkoa invention. This is an Apexis invention. And so is that one up there. And that one over there. And I think those are the only ones they've got. All of these have been claimed by the Arakkoa. Yeah, you're right. That's actually true. It wouldn't be that slow of a death. It would be much, much worse. I mean, no, Fab, it would be a little bit more like suddenly you're living in the middle of the Amazon. I absolutely believe that, Dakota. Especially since it's mentioned several times in lore that those cliffs are, you know, purported to be unscalable. I'm not saying they're literally unscalable. It's just it's pretty clear they put some effort into making it. God, I look terrible. Hope you're appreciating this, Reach, wherever you are. Behold the terrible Crayola suit. Anywho, that's a good question, Necro. Would you believe we don't know? Yeah, they really fleshed out the ogres and the Arakkoa in this timeline. It's two of the things I think of most when I think of why I like the Warlords of Draenor lore. The Gorian Empire and the Ancient Ogre Empire, and the politics of the ogres, and the culture we see about them, and the technology, spellbreaking, which I'm going to talk about when we get to Nagrand. All of that's fascinating. And the Arakkoa and the Apexis situation, and the Adherents of Rukhmar, and the Outcasts, and the organization whose name I can't think of right now. Hang on, where's that? I actually left it up here. Hang on. Where's the... What's the name of their organization? Order of the Awakened. All of that is just fascinating stuff to me. Hey, Thomas Estiu. Alright, so let's continue the plot here, shall we?
Percy, would you hold still? How do you expect me to read it with you fluttering about like that?
Notice the fact that he's literally reading a scroll the bird is just kind of holding up there. I know, Magister. I'm still kind of crossing my fingers that we get some of this in the main game proper after this. That it matters in the future. Like I told Zawan yesterday. It's a little more complicated than that, Narlex, but that is correct. Ow! The, words. The, and I just lost my train of thought. Right. If, as I told Zawan yesterday, I was against the idea of the alternate timeline, alternate dimension bullcrap from the beginning. But you already did it. So you might as well make it matter, right? You might as well bring Yrel over. You might as well have some significance with regards to the Arakkoa and the ogres. You know, do something with it. Don't just let it sit in the Draenor bubble. But I digress.
Let me tell you a story.
Shadows gather.
Farewell, the raven swallows the day. Who sent you?
Azik must have seen something in you. I will trust his judgment for... Oh dear, they've arrived.
You want to know why my people flee Arak? Look outside. Our own kin fear and revile us for this curse.
I thought I would have more time to prepare. There are powerful relics hidden in Skeddies. If I leave without them, I may as well have died. The first is a pair of wing blades held in effigy. You'll likely have walked right past them on your way in. Another effigy on the east side bears a white mask over its face. Bring me these relics, and our secrets shall be yours.
Farewell.
The Arakkoa from Skyreach are all ruled by the Adherents of Rukhmar. They revile those of us who bear the curse of Seath, and decree that we must be purged in the name of their sun god. Soon their gaze will turn to lands beyond Arak. Challenge their warriors. Buy me time to prepare my escape, and help me set into motion their downfall.
I will see you again.
You know who the Adherents of Rukhmar remind me of? Not literally, not directly, but it's just a similarity. Joffrey from Fire and Ice and Game of Thrones. The reason why is because they are incredibly petty and very inclined to basically doing whatever it is they feel like, basically because they feel like it. and constantly clinging to this delusion that they are actually important. When and there's this whole thing about how, oh, the Arakkoa, this, the Adherents of Rukhmar, are this great, terrifying force of unlimited power, and blah blah. But that's actually utterly not true. The Adherents of Rukhmar are actually one of the weak at their weakest point they've ever been at. Again, I make that point that the only thing they have is one city, if you could even call it that, of Skyreach. The only reason they have the ability to influence anything at all is because of the fact that they have the death laser. Now, in fairness, a death laser is not exactly an invalid thing, but that's all they got going for us. Correct. None of the Highborns survived the shattering of Draenor. It has been theorized that it would be more accurate to say that all of the Highborn became outcasts during, in the process, in our timeline. And that is actually very, very likely. If our timeline is anything like their timeline, remember, they have one punishment. Cursing you. Tossing you down so that you get cursed and get turned into an outcast and lose the flight. How long do you think it would take that civilization to basically cease to exist? How long do you think it would take them to no longer be capable of producing children or offspring? And thus, at the point which, say, when the Shattering happened, which was about 28 years after this point, where they're already very low on population, it's very, very easy to assume that either there were no Highborns left, or the few dozen, if not less, Highborns that were left were taken out by the Shattering, or simply wiped out by their outcast, not oppressor, the oppressees, there we go. Even though it's not a correct word choice, but whatever. To my knowledge, they didn't, Gnarlex, but I've only read it once. I really need to pick up a hard copy of that. There's very few books I feel desirous of having a hard copy of, but I think that's one of them. I also need to pick up a hard copy of the Lich King book, which I haven't done yet. Well, that's kind of my point, Necro. Even under even if the Arakkoa Highborn had actually survived and thrived into the system, they would still be screwed. And to be completely blunt, I don't think they did thrive. I think they basically were chopping themselves off at the knees constantly, screwing themselves over. I mean, any nation that actively takes away from their own people and turns them into their own enemies.
Ah, hello.
Wingblades forged in the name of a sun god to bring freedom and glory to her children, and a mask worn by a great king who would walk among his people in disguise to know their true nature. Who would expect such treasures draped over straw dolls, left to bake in the sun? Sometimes the best place to hide precious things is in plain sight.
Ah, farewell for now.
I like Rashad, by the way. Azek was right to guide you to me. If you're coming to help Sketties, we need to meet. And if you're coming to attack us, well, I'd be dead either way, wouldn't I? There. Nearly everything. I have had no time, no, Uldrith. I have had zilcho time. There's a reason I keep starting late every day. It's because I am busy literally from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. The Adherents of Rukhmar are the ruling body atop the spires. Their influence is absolute. The proclamations are taken as the will of Rukhmar herself! I'll talk about Rukhmar in a minute. The herald leading this purge is surely carrying out such orders, likely no more than a list of names and places they plan to erase. That list would prove invaluable in the days to come. Acquire it for me and shut that herald up!
Goodbye. We'll slip away while you keep the herald busy. Meet us near the bridge just outside of town.
Yes, we do, Necro. In their desperation, they turned to the old gods. And it didn't work out for them. We know that, too. Okay. Well, I guess I'll wait a moment. Okay, so Rukhmar. There are 3 Loa, Okay, I'm sorry. Let me separate this again. There are 3 deities amongst the Arakkoa. And I definitely use that with a roll of my eyes, because nothing I've seen indicates they have any claim on actual deification whatsoever. However, there are 3 deities amongst the Arakkoa. Now, it is my personal opinion that all 3 of them are actually Loa. Everything about them fits the Loa description. So, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and refer to them as Loa. Feel free to disagree, as ever, but when I refer to them as Loa, that's why. So, 3 Loa that basically ran the Arakkoa society prior to now. To this day, there's still some influence of it on them, but I'm talking about older days, after Apexis, assuming the Apexis was the Arakkoa. Again, we don't know. We actually know surprisingly little about the Apexis. And prior to now. Those 3 are Rukhmar, Seath, and Anzu. And I have a feeling that everyone here who's played this game in BC knows exactly who Anzu is and hates his guts. In case you're wondering, this is why. I gotta be honest, I hate his guts too. I only got this mount last year. To give you a little bit of perspective on that. So this is, yeah. Moving on. Let's read that proclamation. What do we got? What do we got? Rashad of Skedis, Ishal of Shadowglade, Zeliek of Velikras. In the name of Rukhmar, we will burn away the shadow. Oh, religious zealotry.
It's about time.
Rashad fastens another scroll to Percy, who squawks in protest. Oh, stop whining. Ah, yes, there's my name at the top of the list, and a few Talon priests from the Shadowglade as well. They fear the return of Tarok, as they should. Do you remember our greeting, Velvaxus? Shadows gather when the raven swallows the day. It's more than an old verse, it's a call to action. Followers of the old ways are gathering, and I must join them. You're needed too, I should think. Follow this road to Crow's Crook. There you will find the home of an old crone. Greet her as you greeted me, and she will guide the way. You will not see me, but I will be close behind.
Farewell, my friend.
Yeah, Necro. I recall that. In fact, for a long time, people assumed the Curse of Seath was actually similar to the Curse of Flesh. However, it actually has more similarity to another curse, which is demonic in origin. And I don't know if that's just coincidence or not. I'm referring to the Red Mist, of course. I really don't know if that's just coincidence or if there's some actual real connection between the Curse of Flesh, or excuse me, the Red Mist and the Curse of Seath. Okay. Wark. It's okay, I can go over rivers with this one. I think. It's been a while. Now, they do some cool stuff with the Spires of Arak. I'm going to demonstrate here really quick. So, when you're down on the ground level in most of the areas, pretty much all around here, like this huge area, they actually change the skybox and the lighting so it's much, much darker. And anytime you're up above, it's actually artificially much, much lighter. And the skybox is this big open sky. It's a nice way to contrast the, the whole point of this zone is the contrast between light and shadow, and how the two actually both serve a function when utilized together. That's pretty much the thematic significance of this entire zone's quest arc. This is one of the very few zones where we actually get to see the impact of our actions directly and overtly. Unfortunately, I wish Tanan Jungle was better than it is, because Tanan Jungle is kind of crap. However, we do literally change history here, and we see the effects of that in Tanan Jungle. I'm sorry, Magister.
Are you lost?
Shadows gather?
Yes, I understand. I will tell you the way. And I see you out there, Rashad. No use hiding from me, darling. Come here. Come here.
Oh, yes, of course. Greetings, Arneka.
So,
You too, Percy. That's it. Give old Orneka some sugar.
now, I hate to point this out again, and I swear there's no feminism anything in what I'm about to say. I just like this. And this was something they were going to do with the actual playable Arakkoa. As you can see, that one on the left is a female Arakkoa, and that one on the right is a male Arakkoa. And it's just so obvious from the way that they look, isn't it? I mean, you can tell clearly which one is male and female based on the appearance of bird people. I do actually like the fact that they do have males and females, like birds do, and you can't frickin' tell. I mean, other than a little bit of plumage difference, and that's mostly cosmetic anyways. As I said yesterday, I really would have liked it if they had gone forward with that plan to have male-female Arakkoa, and all it does is change the voice. They look exactly the same. Anywho, moving on.
Can I help you?
I will point you in the right direction, but I cannot guarantee you'll survive the trip. Rashad is more than he appears. A mottled old crow with his beak in a book, certainly, but we need him. Shadows gather between the lonely spire and veiled Tarok. Rashad must make it there safely. Along the path you'll find charms primed with illusion spells. You need only touch them to take on Rashad's image. Adherent assassins are on the prowl for an old outcast with scrolls on his back. They will fall upon you. Oh, but don't be surprised when the illusion fades.
Take care.
No, Kay. In this case, I can fairly definitively say it was a deliberate choice. Now, they could be lying, but I have no reason to think they were lying on this matter. A group of adherents came around just before the attack on Sketties. Disguised myself as a mushroom, I did. The fools walked right past me. My neighbor up on the road was not so lucky. He had a fondness for texts, if I recall. Might be valuable information in his hut. If you give Rashad a moment to rummage around. Oh, and bring one of his feathers to the shrine near Admiral Taylor, will you? He was such a dear, and I know it'd be what he'd want.
Be careful out there.
The way this works is the curse is genetic, kind of similar to the genophage, actually. So yeah, any new Arakkoa who is an outcast, who is a cursed Arakkoa, who gives birth to new children, those will also be outcast. Which, if you're paying attention to basic genetics, does mean that the more they toss down and the more that the adherents curse, the greater of a gene pool they're basically doing. You know, you get what I'm going with here? They're literally cutting off their own civilization at a species level, in addition to a cultural and political level. It's just, the Adherents of Rukhmar are so stupid.
Yes?
They would give Garrosh a run for his money. I am no sorcerer. By the way, I agree, Rashad is awesome. He is the closest thing we have to Lore Walker Cho in this expansion. He's not quite there. Because he only really makes a presence here, but he's got a lot of voice acting, which is great. And, yeah, he's awesome. I really wish we'd gotten more of him. He's part of why I like Spires of Arak so much. I am no sorcerer, but I've picked up a few spells in my time. Enough for me to pass unseen by the naked eye. Unfortunately, the vampire bats in these woods don't use their eyes. They will hear my shuffling robes and Percy's incessant clucking a mile away. Clear them from the path, would you please?
Goodbye. Orneka, it is not safe here. The adherents are out in force. Come with us to Vel Terak.
Oh, how sweet of you, Rashad. I never knew you cared.
See you around,
But
GG's.
my old bones would only slow you down. I'll be fine here.
Very well. Let us proceed.
Yeah, by the way, for those of you not aware, that's Frank Welker, a.k.a. freaking Megatron. He also does a few thousand other voices. I guarantee you've heard Frank Welker's voice acting somewhere. So, this is another thing that the Outcasts tend to do. So, as part of the curse, one of the things the curse does is it cuts them off from their connection to the light. I had no plans to... Norlex, why do you ask? Well, yeah, I mean, they're not going to reach up to their spire, are they, Necro? Anywho, so they don't really have access to the light the way they used to. In fact, hi, Stars of the Ocean. The Arakkoa in general tend to be very light-oriented people. And I do mean the light, as opposed to, you know, just up there in the sky. Although that's part of it, too. They actually have this whole sun-worshipping thing going on, which I'll talk about later when we talk about the Loa more. Sorry, actually, the bot's not on right now. That's why it's not working. I have to turn the bot on. It was misbehaving yesterday. That's why I turned it off. Anywho, so as I was saying, as a result of that, most of the Arakkoa who... I'm trying to think how to explain this. Try to imagine for a moment that your entire life, all of your fighting, training, venerating magic has all been focused around one thing, the light in this case, and then it's all ripped away from you. So you don't really have the ability to do most of what you knew how to do. So most of the outcasts who get down here, rather than turning to... they haven't quite turned to fel magic or arcane magic or demonic magic yet, or excuse me, or shadow magic yet. Instead, they use a form of illusory magic, which is shadow magic. But I want to make the distinction because their magiry is almost solely focused, specialized, if you will, in the creation and usage of illusions. We've already seen this hinted like 5 times throughout the course of this zone. So most of these guys, they're not full on shadow priest in the strictest sense of the word. They're kind of they're basically a new class of shadow caster. And I like that hyper specialization because it would be very useful in the area if you think about it. Basically, for those of you who've played D&D, for those of you especially who've min-maxed in D&D, you know what a illusion spec mage can do in D&D if you really know what you're doing. That's pretty much what these guys are. For those of you who don't know, let's just say that despite the fact that illusion has effectively no real attacks, an illusion spec mage can absolutely crush face if they know what they're doing. That's always the catch. Also, this is a very minor point, but it is worthy of noting. Note that the Arakkoa, even the Outcasts, have a jumping animation. For those of you who don't understand why I point this out, one of the truest signs of whether or not a race is going to be further developed, whether as a playable or if it's just going to get more screen time in WoW, has always been, do they have a jump animation? And I hate to point this out yet again, but the Gnolls, the Murlocs, the Naga, well, previously the Naga, didn't have jump animations, to further emphasize my point. We are still in 6.0. There really is no 6.1. And there's very little 6.2. But yeah, we're in 6.0 right now. We will be for the vast, vast majority of Warlords. Also, hi, Darker. Did I already say that? I never remember if I say hi to people, and I don't want to not say hi, because that would just be rude. Plus, I'm actually happy to see you guys. I know, weird, right? One of the other ways you can kind of tell that they were doing more stuff with the Arakkoa, and it's hard to put a voice to this. I'm sure Kay could actually explain this better than I can. I usually just do it by sight, but you can tell when a certain model basically has more animations or better animations or more complete animations. Like, I don't know if you could tell while I was fighting there, and I can't show it off as much as I'd like to, but the Arakkoa... Yes, and both Arakkoa, not just the Outcasts, have a much more complete animation set than several of the other races do. Including multiple different types of attack animations and whatnot. Yeah, come on. And of course, animations while moving and while jumping, which is another key thing. So here's a weird question for you guys. let's say they did actually make a Arakkoa playable. Would you, like, let's say they made both Arakkoa playable. Which would you rather make? Like, if you could only make one, would you make a Outcast, like this guy, or would you make an Adherent? Or, excuse me, a Highborn, like the one I just killed? Assume for a moment there's no gameplay difference, no flying or anything like that. Just pure visual cosmetics. Yeah, exactly, Durker. Favorite story patch for me, it's expansion. Yeah, usually the last one. In BC, well, in Wrath, it would be the one that added Wrath. In Vanilla, it's the one that added Noxoramus. In BC, it's the one that added Magister's Terrace. In Wrath, it's the one that added Citadel and the 3 awesome dungeons. In Cataclysm, it's the one that added the 2 dungeons. Or, no, it was 3 dungeons again, and Dragon Soul. All of these are the last patch of their given expansion. In Pandaria, it was probably 5.1. That's, well, I'm really torn on that, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to 5.1, even though 5.1 and 5.2 are both amazing in Pandaria. And in Warlords, there was no lore patch, story patch, so not really. I'm seeing a lot of Outcast, which I find interesting. Where would their capital city be? Interesting question. I have a counter question for you. Where's the Goblins' capital city? Or the Worgans? My point is, that's probably what I think would happen here. I need to kill one more bat. Poor warlords. I know I've said it before, but man, it could have been so great. I still like warlords, but I would have loved warlords. It's that Star Trek Voyager thing all over again. Poor guy.
Step aside. Let us see if this fellow had anything worthwhile. Mind the door, will you?
Yeah, sure.
My, what a curious collection. Percy, what have you got there? Come now, let's see it. "50 layers of shadow, 50... Percival! You put that back this instant! Wow, nasty bird!
Sorry. They should, Psychotic. I mean, really. Chagall was always a heavy. Especially our Chagall. They might be gone now, though.
Ah, here's something. The Saga of Arak. And he's written notes inside. Here, have a look.
Here, I'll take both for safekeeping. We have one more stop before the Wayshine. Our deceased friend here was hiding more than a love of old scrolls and erotic sorcery fiction. He had something truly valuable. If I'm reading his notes correctly, he claims to have found the Eye of Anzu, Tarak's scrying orb from the days after his fall. We need that orb. The notes say he stashed it in a Ravager den, just up the road.
Farewell. Back to the shadows for us, Percy.
Poor Percy. No, okay, what I mean is there's a difference between an animation that has like 5 steps in it and an animation that has like 10 or 12 or 15. Something that's designed more completely as opposed to thrown together. They were in vanilla Gnarlix, and they rebelled against Sylvanas' control. How dare they? So we went and wiped them out, and as of Cataclysm, they are fully wiped out. Well, I should say by the end of Cataclysm, they are fully wiped out, is a better way to put that. Hey, buddy. The wretched outcast begged for death in the end, and soon, so shall you. I am evil. Evil and stupid. Fear my evil stupidity. This is taking a long time to kill, because I have lots of health, even though I'm very easy. Dead. You could have joined me. It shares. They do. I agree. Bronze, Vandalia. I wonder what's here. Let's find out. Glug, glug, glug. Looks like a crossbow. That's a pity.
Yes?
How very noble of you to act as bait on my behalf. I won't forget this.
Farewell for now.
To hold such a treasure. I wonder if that Sun Talon had any idea of the significance. Amazing. To think Terok used this very orb to commune with Anzu. One could become quite the Darkweaver with an implement such as this. Come, let's get it safely to the Vale.
I will see you again.
Blasted things. Nothing more than flying rats, if you ask me. Vale Terok is just ahead. Let's hope the others have made the journey safely.
Farewell for now. Almost there. Come along, Percy. Rastok, I need a shroud at that dig site. Kura, back shadows gather. Rashad, you survived Skegis. Yes, just barely. Are we late?
So,
The adherents grow bolder each day. It's all we can do to keep Vale Terok shrouded from them. Do you have the relics? Yes, and something unexpected too. We have much to discuss.
So this is Iskar. Poor Iskar.
Draw back the veil.
We owe you a great debt for delivering Rashad safely to us. However, our struggle has only just begun.
We hide no longer.
One of your soldiers stopped by, asking about you while you were out. Something about a caravan. Whatever it was, it couldn't have gone well for them. Oh, that's Nagrand.
The shadows.
That's the go-to for Nagrand.
restless.
We'll get to that in a minute. Also, and I know this sounds contradictory. Yeah, he did, Darker. I agree. We'll talk about it later. I actually would rather talk about that during the raid. So there's actually a jumping puzzle here, which I'm actually not going to do, because it's kind of a pain. But there's actually a lot of jumping puzzles. In fact, there are more jumping puzzles in Arak, the Spires of Arak, than there are anywhere else. Some of them can get kind of frustrating. They're, of course, completely invalidated by having a flying mount, but we've already had that discussion 1,000 times. There's really no reason to rehash that point again, is there? I'm kind of demonstrating here how these jumping puzzles work. Ah! There we go. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. And voila, and we get up here and we get the item. Now the funny thing is, these all require archaeology, so I actually can't loot this. But yeah, this is what I mean by jumping puzzles. It's a neat little thing. My friend and I had a lot of fun with these. And we actually bothered to get all of these without flying just because it was funner. So, you know. Hey, Walter World.
What you want?
The Birdman captured me while I was getting the lay of the land. We be working an outpost for you, just round this mountain, so you'll be spreading all over the continent. Things not be going well. I be needing your assistance, Commander. Can you tell them I mean no harm, so I can be showing you the outpost?
Okie dokie.
Do not believe your eyes.
Hey, your prisoner, he's with me. He means you no harm.
We hide no longer.
Let the prisoner go. Its master has earned favor from us. Yeah, no kidding, psychotic.
Who you be?
Thank the spirits you showed up to hear my prayers. Axfall be just a moment's tide from here. I'll be marking the location on your map. I'll meet you there.
Later.
We're going to be voting for which building we do in a bit, of course. I don't have too much of an opinion on this one, but when we get to Nagrand, there's one building I really, 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 really want you guys to do instead of the other one. But we'll leave that for later. And I'm going to start the poll, and then I'm going to respond to people in chat. I'm not ignoring people. I just want to start the poll up. I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just start the poll now? I can't remember the other building.
Hello, man.
The lies for your will, Commander.
See ya later.
Stand up straight, you pathetic savages! The commander approaches. For Valvoxis! For the Horde! Commander, our status report is regrettable. We'll be out of supplies in a few days, and that's assuming we have any troops left by then. There's enough material. Okay, so in or a trading post. Hang on, so I got the bot going. Poll open. Which building should we build in Arak? In trading post, and we'll leave that up for 10 minutes. Bzz. We go. Vite, as the saying goes. And we'll put that up. I'm gonna make this like super obvious, I think, just to make sure that people know. So there's no denying at all. Behold. Behold. There we go, okay. Make it super obvious. Okay, now to respond to people. Okay, so... let's see here. I get you, Kay. Of course, I imagine they don't do that for the most part. Although I do feel they are much, much smoother than they used to be. Of course, you haven't really seen how they used to be, Kay. Do you think I missed a story opportunity in Warlords with Sylvanas and the 1.0 Forsaken, with them running into the Orc? I actually don't understand your question, Vendoli. What do you mean? I mean, I get what you're saying. You're asking if there's a missed story opportunity with Ner'zhul. Well, and I noticed Chad is talking about that as well. It is mentioned very, very few... why would you apologize for that, Kay? There are very, very few people in lore who know the truth about certain creatures in and the realities of, and the truth about what's been happening. For example, there are people who know that Ner'zhul was the first Lich King. That is not a large number of people. You know what I mean? And then that's true for other things too. Very few people are aware of the fact that there's a difference between Arthas and Death Knight Arthas, for example. You know, to name one fairly large and significant variance there. Imagine what Jaina Proudmoore would think if she knew there was a difference between Arthas and Death Knight Arthas. Anywho, scroll back up. Oh God, have you ever done the Datacron in the space station, Stukov? The +10 one? Again, why would you apologize for that, Kay? While we're here, I want to show off a couple things while you guys vote. So this is Rukhmar. That's actually her. She's, well, like I said, it is my theory that she is a Loa, in a similar vein to all the other Loa we've seen on our world. And we know for a fact Loa are not, you know, unique to Azeroth. I hate this song so much. I hate this song, I hate this song, I hate this song, I hate this song. Okay, so I, oh god, I went to Admiral Taylor's Garrison by accident. Yeah, it is my theory that Rukhmar, Seethe, and Anzu are all Loa. They pretty much fit all the bills for them. And, the way they fight amongst each other, the way they empower their followers, the way they can curse, you know, people from the physical realm, I mean, all that, it really does seem pretty much just one-to-one. I've only done it once, Stukov. I'll never do it again. It's pretty debatable, Necro, especially if my theory is correct. If my theory is correct, Ner'zhul was never the first Lich King. Gul'dan was. So, you know. Also, I want to point this out, as you can see, and this is just a recurring theme, and basically, if you've noticed, this is in every zone thus far, as we've been going through. The Zanger is just kind of quietly, slowly encroaching in the background, as it is its nature to do. As, you know, the natural... fungus. I don't know what else to call it. It's spreading fungus, you know? Poor Admiral Taylor. We'll do that quest soon. Don't worry, don't worry. Now, some of these jumping puzzles kind of irritate me. Well, it's a bit of a wild theory, I'll admit it, and I will even admit that it's probably not true. If I was writing it, it is what I would do. And I mean that sincerely. It was how I would write the story if I was in charge of it. Basically, here's the thing. So, Gul'dan is Gul'dan. Hideously, psychotically evil, right? And then, Gul'dan dies, and his skull starts whispering to Khadgar, trying to influence him. The skull of Gul'dan also was whispering to Deathwing, trying to influence him. And then, Ner'zhul, as I mentioned, and there's no denying this point. You know, all these things I'm mentioning here are facts. You know, these can't be denied. So Ner'zhul is completely changed, an utterly, absolutely different person the moment he takes up the skull of Gul'dan, and he just goes straight from being Ner'zhul to being and leaves his own followers to die, kills one of his own people, you know, just all sorts of horrible stuff. And what happens immediately after Ner'zhul goes crazy evil? He gets captured by the Nethrezim and by Kil'jaeden and warped into the first Lich King. So there's really two theories about what happened there. Now, the first and most likely theory is the fact that the skull of Gul'dan's fell energy completely corrupted Ner'zhul. So what we were looking at was a fell corrupted Ner'zhul, and that's the most likely explanation. My theory, and again, what I would do if I was writing it, is that Gul'dan basically used Ner'zhul as a host body, and hopped from the skull into him, because he couldn't do it to Khadgar, because Khadgar simply had too strong of a will, and the skull never actually got to Deathwing. No, Gul'dan died in Warcraft 2, during Warcraft 2. To make that more clear, Warcraft 2, not Warcraft 2 expansion. He died towards the end of the original vanilla Warcraft 2. And alternate Gul'dan will be dying in Legion, most likely. Because he's a raid boss. Anywho. Yeah, I think that's a valid statement, Vandalia. If my theory, which is very much unlikely to be true, was true, that would mean that Gul'dan invented both forms of Death Knights, which also makes a degree of sense when you think about it. It also explains a lot of the first Lich King's lines, because the first Lich King really does sound... I've done this before. I've read dialogue from the first Lich King, and I've said, who does this sound more like, Ner'zhul or Gul'dan, you know? Like I said, Thomas, it is very unlikely to be true. True. I just prefer thinking of it that way because it makes more sense to me than he was corrupted by demon energy. Maybe I'm just tired of being corrupted by demon energy. I don't know. It's old hat now, you know? I don't remember if we killed Cho'Gall in that mission. I really don't. It's been a long time since I played that mission, and that mission was a complete pain. Oh, that in my opinion, that's one of the hardest. Well, okay, by memory, it's been a long time since I went through Warcraft 2, but by memory, that was like the worst mission in Warcraft 2. Yeah. There's this guy called Nobel the Noble, who has been covering some Legion lore. Exonus, if you look him up on YouTube, Nobbel. Other than the obvious effects, I don't think so, no, Vandalia. And I agree, Gnarlex. It is very likely in Chronicles Book 2 we will get that clarification, because Chronicles Volume 2 is very likely to cover Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. Possibly Warcraft 3 as well. Well, yeah, I was going to say, we were fighting against the Twilight's Hammer and the Storm Reavers. I remember that. I remember hating that mission. God, I hate that mission so much. This is another reason why I'd be in favor of a proper remake of Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. You could solidify the lore and add in all the retcons, you know?
Sub-Sug. Dabu.
So these are the two options now that you've all voted. The Hearthfire Tavern will provide housing for additional troops and boost the morale of your forces. Once fully operational, the Hearthfire Tavern grants the use of Home Away from Home, which increases X gained in the Spires of Arak, and gives you a teleport to here. As you might imagine, that's kind of irrelevant for me because I'm level 100 already. However, we're not doing about gameplay. We're interested in role-playing, damn it. The Smuggler's Den will open up trade routes with other forces, granting us access to rare supplies and materials, and you can do Smuggler's Run, which basically summons a rare good vendor every 10 minutes who gives random stuff. For the reference, I actually already have all of the toys and pets and whatnot you get from Smuggling Run. So, Tavern it is. What was the spread? God, nobody votes anymore. Y'all are terrible. I got this whole new bot and nobody votes.
Strength.
Your will be done. For the Horde!
Strength.
We need allies desperately if we want a chance at surviving until tomorrow. We've made contact with one of the Outcasts, or Arakkoa, but he refused to discuss alliances without speaking to you first. You should speak with him.
Go forth to victory.
Okay.
Relax.
I found something else out while scouting, boss. The Alliance having a garrison just across the way. And there been no movement in or out of the place for a while. Just be a golden opportunity to sack the place and bolster your coffers. No, dude, no, we're at peace. Can we just go assist them? Do we have to...
Be seeing ya.
Whatever. It's okay, we do end up helping the garrison once we find out what's happened there. It's just, you know... Oh, that's the hero. Yeah, we're not doing those. Yeah, unfortunately, these buildings don't really affect the questing experience. This building very much affects the questing experience, but not literally, not like it did in Gorgrund. Some of you who've been here know what I mean by that. Xavius is currently empowered by effectively both the Old Gods and the Burning Legion. And that's a lot of power to be brought to bear, especially when you are already someone who has influenced the Emerald Dream. That's how he could influence Cenarius. It wasn't easy, but yeah. He was Gornak, but I don't think any of the others were, Magister. Why do you ask? Like, I don't think... In fact, if you pay attention, statistically speaking, there's actually more non-orcs here than there are orcs, which I find funny and awesome.
What business have you?
Commander, a courier arrived this morning. He said he's from a goblin settlement to the southeast called Pinchwhistle Gearworks. They've asked for our assistance with some sort of ecological disaster. We're spread thin, but if we earn their trust, we might get a valuable ally. Head down and see what sort of assistance we can provide. I've already spoken to a flight master, and he set up a special flight to get you there. Oh, thank you.
Be ready for anything.
Percy! There's a small note tied to Percy's foot. Percy should have brought with him a basket of goods, assuming he didn't dump it off somewhere along the way. The contents are a token of my gratitude, and an apology for the altercation with your scout. I must urge you to return to Vale Terok so we may press forward with our plans. And that's kind of one of the things I like about Rashad. He's actually pretty smart. He understands, he recognizes pretty immediately that we are a player character, you know, that we're someone of significance. And he is like, he didn't even really need to apologize for the fact that they captured our scout, because they didn't rough him up, they didn't torture him or beat him, they just captured him and then let him go at our behest. But he still felt the need to apologize just to make sure he was in our good graces. And I point that out because that's kind of what the Outcasts do in general. And one of the reasons I wish we had seen more, I wish we see more of the Outcasts in the future. Because they have this whole culture of trying to assuage and persuade and be diplomatic and, you know, to coerce someone through more social graces rather than most of the other things we see in Warcraft. There are so few cultures or organizations in Warcraft that actually try to be that are manipulative by being diplomatic rather than being manipulative by being deceptive or corruptive or, you know, anything like that. And so I kind of wish we'd seen more of that. Wish we see more of that in the future, because we see plenty of it in this one. That, and I think Rashad's a genuinely cool guy. And he's voiced by Frank Welker. The thing is, Vandalia, Xavius... So, Xavius' storyline, I hope they clear this up a little bit more, because they screwed up. I'll go ahead and talk about Xavius real quick while we're just standing here. Actually, where am I going first? Let's do that first. Yes, we'll do the Admiral Taylor thing first, because there's a big plot drop here. And to date, we still don't actually know what this means. This is a speculation gold mine here. Anywho, Xavius. So originally, the intention was for Xavius to have basically turncoated. He abandoned the Burning Legion and is now following the old gods. Blah 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 blah. Then they kind of forgot that they did that, and they made him a devout follower of the Burning Legion. And I quote, "There is only one god, and his name is Sargeras." That is a quote Xavius himself has said. And so they kind of were left with this weird situation where Xavius is a servitor of the old gods and the demons pretty much side by side. Yeah. Oh, God! What are the odds that I would land in one of the few spots he comes close enough to the ground to aggro me? She, Rukhmar is a female. Anywho, so basically, we don't really know how it lines up yet. Xavius is a clear and distinct follower of Sargeras, okay, and of the Burning Legion. And in Legion, he is there as an agent of the Burning Legion. And yet he is the Nightmare Lord. He is the one who has been empowered by the old gods to run the Emerald Nightmare. So there's some inconsistency there. And I'm hoping they explain it either in the books or in Legion, because I don't actually have an answer for you guys, sorry. An int flask? Yeah, sure, why not? And some brave drizzard beef. So good. Oh, almost as good as humpback whale. Anywho. Yes, full day today, Magister. Although I will be taking a lunch break because I'm hungry as hell.
Hey there.
Everyone be dead, man. What did this? Everybody here be dead. This architect's spirit not be wanting to fight us. Even in death, he only wanting to be working. Maybe we can break the haze over him, get to the bottom of this. I bet one of the spectral laborers be having one of his schematics. We can show it to him, clear his mind.
Later.
That's true, Vandalia. Hey, Zidane. What's up? It could also be that Xavius is basically like, oh yeah, I'll totally work for you, old gods. While secretly he's actually working for Sargeras, and he's just opportunistically serving the old gods because he believes it'll help him serve Sargeras, you know. Paying lip service, if you will. But again, we don't actually know if Blizzard's intended to answer that, because they haven't bothered to answer it yet. Actually, the torturing by Sargeras thing happened very recently. So, for those of you not aware, Xavius has actually already been defeated in lore. For those of you not aware, Xavius was the reason that Teldrassil was so screwed up. He was one of his branches had been grafted into it, okay? And that branch had enabled him to basically corrupt the entirety of Teldrassil with demonic and old god energy. Pretty much the whole time, right? Oh, that's not it. Ocelot level psychotic, come on. Anywho, during one of the books that happened prior to Cataclysm but after Wrath, they found out Xavius, and they found that he was there, and Malfurion and Tyrande actually managed to excise him from Teldrassil and defeat him. And when he was defeated there, that's when he went back to, being a demon. That's when he went back to the Twisting Nether. That's when Sargeras twisted and tortured him, and torture. And that led to, Hang on, I gotta look something up. Because I just thought of something. Oh god, there's Rukhmar again. Go away, woman. Hang on. Okay, yes, I did have the series of events correctly. Okay, just wanted to verify something. Okay, so, yes, anywho. I've lost my train of thought. Okay, right, so Xavius was twisted and tortured, and then he was sent back, and now he has been given a second chance in order to enact his plans and continue to influence the Emerald Nightmare and all that fun stuff. And that's why he is back in Legion. I have to admit, I actually groaned when Xavius came back. Granted, he died off camera. He died in the books, actually, and a lot of players weren't even aware that Xavius was defeated. And so giving the players a chance to actually kill the bastard, I'm okay with, but damn it, as I said before, I'm a little tired of the whole... And he's back, and he's dead, and he's back, and he's dead, he's back, and he's dead. That's what I think, Necro. Again, I want to stress we don't know... Hi, Azura. I want to stress we don't actually know what the hell is up with Xavius' multi-factionalism. But it is my theory that he's basically genuinely loyal to Sargeras and pretending at loyalty to the old gods and utilizing old god power. Snap out of it, Mon. Come back to us.
What can I help you with? Go with honor, friend.
What happened? Where am I?
Greetings.
I'd recognize one of my schematics anywhere. Thank you, friend. I don't know what happened. My crew and I must have been the first to fall. My wife, the innkeeper, is in the same stupor you found me in. I can feel it. And there's others with her. Please, give the townsfolk peace and show their essences to my wife. That should bring her back from the cold abyss.
For the Alliance.
And when you see her, tell her I love her. So as you can see, these are a form of Type 2 undead. When I say a form of, Type 2 undeads can be deliberate or accidental, basically depending on the nature of their death. The most common form of Type 2 is this Type 2 undead, aka I died badly and so my spirit continues on in my stead. You know, that kind of a Type 2 undead. And all of these people were pretty horribly butchered. And were done so as a betrayal, too. So, yeah, it's very logical that all these people... Oh, shoot, I should take down the pole thing. Sorry. It is very logical that these people would become Type 2 undead, like all of them. It is interesting to me that Type 2 undead do still exist on Draenor. It's nice to know that they don't follow planetary lines there. Ow. I need to buy some food or something. Why would they, Necro? Blood of the living. Hey, I have food. Yeah, no kidding, Vandalia. Hey, Equilibrium. That is our donation incentive right there. It's for which cosmetic outfit we wear, which transmog. We also technically have a second additional donation incentive. No, not the cookies! Which involves which mount we're riding around in for the end of the Lorerun here. Because we're very much approaching the end. Warlords simply does not have that much content in it. This is nowhere near like any of the previous expansions. Gosh darn it. Once we finish up the 2 zones, we have a very small amount of endgame content, which can't possibly even take a full day, and then we're done. And then I'm going to do a very brief showcasing of something in Legion, and that's it. Nothing fancy, don't worry. Don't get hyped. Don't get hyped. It's just something that was requested for me to do. Oh yeah, by the way, fun little thing. These guys drop chilling mementos. Where is it? There it is. A haunting reminder of a life long since expired. You remember these things from the Wrath launch event? The fact that they used the mementos here, combined with the nature of the undead thing, and the fact that that's basically the only information we have at all, other than the fact that they're undead, is why some people think this is a Kel'Thuzad / Scourge-related thing. And yes, I will, Psychotic. I'm amazed how often I get that question. No, I've decided to stop streaming forever because YouTube hates streaming. There you go. I like what they did with the voices here, by the way. Yes, I will, Necro. Such as it is, there are not many cutscenes, as I mentioned, and they're much, much less worse presented than they were in Pandaria. So,
open for business. Have a good one.
Free your mind. Who are you? Where's Brian?
I supply only the finest goods.
I like the touch on the voice. Everything's so hazy. What happened? Who are you? We're dead? I remember now. Watch Commander Branson told us to stay at the inn. He said he'd be safe here. And then that thing broke through and slaughtered everyone. Last thing I remember seeing it was descending into the larder.
Safe travels.
Yeah, personally, WoW certainly, and Blizzard in general, reuses models a lot. Let's be honest about that. And it sucks because every now and again they reuse models on purpose. You know, Blizzard is not above foreshadowing. In fact, we have seen many times, and we can prove many times in the last 10 years, that they have done stuff deliberately with model usage and voice acting and all sorts of things to hint at stuff into the future, to foreshadow, right? But the problem is, they also just reuse models to save time and effort and to be lazy about it. So it's frustrating trying to figure out which time it's foreshadowing and which time it's just laziness. Personally, I think this is an example of foreshadowing in this instance. That's just my opinion on it. But that's because this entire quest just screams foreshadowing. Out here. Only staff's allowed in the larder. So there's Watch Commander Branson. You know, the one who told them to hide in here because they'd be safe. I think I've actually answered that question already, Vandalia. Nevertheless, my answer remains true. Yes, I do think that. You will not interrupt the Master's plans. I was promised eternal life. Yeah, Earthrigger Ptah was pretty obviously lazy model reuse. He is, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, where is that? There it is. We're referring to this guy. This is a clear example of lazy model reuse.
What are you looking for?
I'll convince the others of our fate. There's no denying it anymore.
See you later.
Wait, I remember something else. Sir Edward, he was shouting, looking for someone. I can't remember who. There were so many screams.
See you around.
I like the idea that these people have to be convinced that they're dead. That it's so difficult to tell when you're dead. Something about that idea appeals to me. Yeah, fire Merogar. It is an awesome model. But, yeah, no, that's... yeah. It is worth noting, to my knowledge, this model has only been used 3 times in the history of WoW. Merogar, Earthbridger, Bobbity Blue, and up ahead in a minute here. Yep, whoop, whoop. Hold on a second. Lots of dead people here. Including Lady Claudia Black. No, I'm kidding.
King's honor, friend.
If today was any other day, I'd have you court-martialed for being out of uniform.
Be careful.
This is what we look like right now.
Well met.
Traitors, the lot! You're looking at the last bastion of the forces, still loyal to Admiral Taylor and the Alliance. I'll be damned if the defectors get away clean. You look you're ready. Go teach them how we deal with their kind during times of war.
Light bless you.
Note that he's referring to war against the Iron Horde, not the Horde.
I'm kind of busy.
The armory is lost to the traitors. All we have left is a few cannons and no ammunition. Soldier! I need you to recover cannonballs so we can get these things running. Actually, one more cannon wouldn't hurt either.
Safe travels.
Part of the problem with the whole lazy argument is it's really going to depend on your perspective, because we obviously don't know if they were being lazy, or if they were like, if they were rushed for time, or if they were like, well, maybe this would be a cool callback, or maybe they'll like this, you know? Or they're trying to go for a nostalgia effect. We don't actually know. We can only speculate, and of course that means it's going to depend on our perspective on it. For example, Vandalia mentioned how they dislike the Ubris reuse, whereas personally I actually liked it because of the same reason Equilibrium mentioned. You know, the whole it did feel like good nostalgia to see the bosses being of the style of the old Ubris bosses, while still being new stuff. You know, I liked that. But it's always going to depend on your opinion, because we are not mind readers, and we can only go off of interviews and whatnot for information from the actual developers and creators. Same thing with model reuse. I like the text on the cannonball, by the way. These could do some real damage. But the text on the cannon is better. I'm about to fit a cannon into my bag. Just think about that for a minute. Avoid him there. Okay, I swore the text on the cannon was actually different. I thought it was something like, how the heck are you fitting this in your bag? But obviously I'm misremembering because it's not there. You there! Over there, you might help me out of this? Contrary to what these idiots seem to believe, I am not, in fact, dead yet. Not at least in the... and not in that sense of the word, at least.
Hello.
Hey, Benjamin Gibb. I can honestly say I never thought I'd see the premier Horde commander walking through an Alliance garrison. Then again, I never thought I'd be caught while performing reconnaissance for the Dark Lady and stuffed in a hole in the ground, left for dead. I'm clearly not going anywhere without your help. If you help me out of this hellhole, I'll serve under your banner. My solo run has been decidedly less pleasant.
Goodbye.
Up you get. Thank you, Commander. I'll make my way back to your garrison. I saw what I assume is your outpost not far from here. That is, I think, the third time Sylvanas has been quietly infiltrating warlords. And I've kind of pointed that out each time I've seen it, to emphasize that plot thread, which I personally think is deliberate foreshadowing of what she's planning next. And I've thought that since Warlords came out. My thoughts on that have not changed. And yeah, I agree with Stukov in that respect. Zul'Gurub was awesome. The second Zul'Gurub was awesome in its revamp. And so was Ubris, in my opinion. But Zul'Aman, in its revamp, and we showed this off on camera, is basically the exact same as the Zul'Aman raid. In fact, if you'll remember, we showed off Zul'Aman during BC because it was so similar to the raid that it was effectively the same experience. Sylvanas is a possibility for having done this, yes. Hey, Octavian. There are actually several possibilities for who could have done this. It could even be a new character. I know, right? I like the Gilneas effect they've got going here with random little bits of paper flying around to get that dead, abandoned look across. Oh, it better not be Mal'Ganis. I'm kind of tired of seeing him. We will see him again, though. Raytheon was involved in this, but I don't think he did this personally. I'll explain that when I'll actually be reading the journal in its entirety once we pick it up. Don't worry, guys. The journal is very interesting.
What can I do for you?
Well fought. For the Alliance!
Be careful.
Quit it.
Yeah, for the Alliance. Wait, I remember. Hope you're toting a cannon and some balls, soldier. Good job.
Farewell. You're getting on my nerves.
Hey look, there's the greatsword, which I still have on my main. Admiral Taylor had figured out who was behind all this. He told us to save who we could. He wanted to handle matters himself. We never heard from him again, but we have our orders. Please find him. He went towards the farm.
Be careful.
So Raytheon has quite literally exactly 2 appearances in Warlords, and what you're about to see is one of them, sort of. Hero, help me down from here. We don't have much time. Well, there's Admiral Taylor's body. As you can see, his spirit is shackled here. A file betrayed me. He slaughtered my men and turned them against... Ah! You have heart, Taylor. I'll give you that. I suppose there's not much of a point in disguises anymore. Note the standard Necro model there. Now, Admiral, it's time to finish what I started. He also takes the bodies of pretty much all the other people we've interacted with so far. Brian Finn, Alice Finn, the Lieutenant General, and the Brigadier General. You know, can we stop him? Shoves their bones and souls together. And creates that thing. Again, I strongly feel like this is a foreshadowing, not a lazy reuse. Very well. I'll finish you myself. Yeah, uh-huh. Apparently we are a fool, just like Taylor. Now this is interesting, but we'll talk about this in a moment. I turned Admiral's followers against him. Maybe I'll pay your garrison a visit next. The Dark One promised me so much if I succeeded.
This land tests us, friend.
From one commander to another, thank you. We've faced off on the fields of battle so many times now. Fashir, Jade Forest, Lion's Landing. I'm glad I could end my journey with such a worthy adversary.
Remember, the king is counting on us.
You're right, Commander.
How you doing, man?
There may be alliance, but Admiral Taylor and his men fought with honor on the battlefield. They deserve our respect. War Chief be praised. If an entire garrison be fallen to dark magic, our work cut out for us here, Commander. We should be going back to base. It's safe there. Safer, anyway.
Be seeing ya.
I'll be helping the Admiral find his way back to his people. I'll meet you back at the camp. I also like the fact that our troll our troll gentleman here treats him with quite a bit of respect, but there's one other thing that we really need to do, and sometimes it bugs out, and it looks like it's bugged out this time as well. Which sucks. Okay. So yes, this is Admiral Taylor. For those of you who don't do alliance-y stuff, he is the General Nazgrim equivalent, more or less literally. We've seen Nazgrim since Wrath, and we've seen Taylor and Nazgrim basically equal since Kata. They've both been slowly rising up the ranks, and were basically the Alliance/Horde character we interacted with, quest-wise and lore-wise. Nazgrim, of course, was killed during the Siege of Orgrimmar, and this is how Taylor is killed. Let me make my opinion 100% clear. I think this is doing a huge disservice to Taylor, even though Taylor didn't have as much screen time and characterization as Nazgrim did, because Nazgrim was around a full expansion before he was. I still think Taylor was awesome, and I still think Taylor deserved a better send-off than this. It is a rare thing that I hope a character is brought back from the dead, but this is one of those instances because I think Taylor deserves better. You know, at the very least, bring him back to do something more with him other than him dying off-camera. He actually died off-camera. We just show up to save his spirit after he has died. You know? And I say that as me, as Horde, as Alliance, whatever. This is not cool. Okay, so I'm gonna relog really quick and hope that fixes it. Because I need that book. If I don't get it, well, I've got other plans for that. There it is. Admiral Taylor's Garrison log. You know what, screw it. I've already pulled it up. I'll just read it here. So, this is actually kind of cool, because we basically get an insight into what it's like for the people who aren't the player character. And this is one of the very few things Warlords did right, with the implication that while we are off establishing our garrison, there are other garrisons that are being established across the land. And that makes perfect sense if you look at this from the RTS perspective. Think about it for a moment. When you're doing a map, even a single-player campaign map, do you just have one base? Or do you have expansions, right? The idea being that the main base is the one we have back in Shadowmoon or in Frostfire Ridge, and then this one that Admiral Taylor's setting up, and there's a, you know, there should have been a few other hints of that kind of stuff, but you know what I mean, are the ones that are the expansions. You know, get more resources, get more establishment, you know, just done a little more in lore than in RTS format. Sense make? Now, I don't think this song is good. I'm just really tired of this song. I hate this song. So while I read this, we're going to go ahead and get the Garrison music going, because I think that's going to be the most appropriate thing. Love flying. Oh, gotcha, Necro. I guess that's how... Oh, whatever. Day 0. Arrived on the coast with most of our gear intact. Finn assures me this is an ideal location. Edward and Claudia are constantly bickering since that latest Arakkoa attack. Ephile is obsessing over ley lines, whatever they are. Can't even agree on the date we went through the portal. Feels like autumn? I'm just gonna go ahead and call this Day 0. Day 2. About a dozen lumberjacks disappeared. The one who made it back has a wasp stinger in his gut the length of my arm. Dumberlin and Ephile offered to go out with a war party and clear out the place. I dispatched them with a couple of followers. We desperately need that lumber. Day 4. We had a visit from Vindicator Murad. He's pleased with our progress. He suggested we send laborers to a Draenei town called Elidor to acquire food. I turned him down. No way I'm sending my best people halfway across the world for food. I've made other arrangements. That wonderfully friendly Pandaren, Madame Goya, has offered cartloads of food at reasonable prices. Seems on the up and up. Madame Goya is a runner of the black market, by the way. We had an Iron Horde attack. Thank the light we've got our walls up. Dumberlin was an absolute beast during the attack. A lot of good men were lost, though, with many wounds on their back. Ephile missing for hours after the attack. Something about this stinks. Gave the laborers the day off to bury the dead. Work will resume tomorrow. The barracks is nearly complete. We almost have enough resources for an armory. Day 12. Sir Edward arrived in the town hall today with the Black Prince Raytheon in tow. One of 2 appearances he has in the entire expansion, despite the fact that he's the one who starts the entire expansion, and is the one behind basically all the events of the Iron Horde. 2 times he's in Warlords. And this is one of them, in a log, in text format. Hard to tell who was the captive and who was the captor. Raytheon was seeking asylum in my garrison. Claims he did something off to piss off the ogres. Edward barked that Raytheon is a fugitive from the Alliance. He is? Lady Claudia and her troops fanned out with guns drawn. Tense situation. I told Raytheon he was welcome as our guest, provided he stayed under house arrest and full-time guard. Messages dispatched to the king. Black Dragon now ensconced within my garrison. What could go wrong? No, Vandalia. Madame Goya is... what Necro just said. Day 15. The barracks is complete. Armory is in progress. Huge shipment of resources arrived this morning. A gift from Raytheon to build us an inn. How does he do that? It's almost like he has tremendous wealth and political affluence, like I mentioned earlier. We went to speak with Raytheon. He told me to keep an eye on Ephile. I don't trust either of them. Day 16. Took some of the guards aside and offered them substantial hazard pay to maintain a 24-hour watch on Raytheon. They lowered their eyes and admitted that Raytheon was already paying them to keep a watch on me. That son of a... It's funny how much loyalty you can garner, how much military power you can wield when you have money at your side. Day 21. Got a letter from Gurgthok inviting us to participate in the Ring of Blood. That's in Nagrand. Potential to really show what the Alliance is capable of, and we will shift the prize money to Goya for food. Set out with Edward and Claudia to win one for Rin. I left Dunderblin in charge of security. Day 25. Victorious! Edward can take a hell of a beating in the arena. Day 27. Made it back. Chaos in the garrison. Goya's supplies never arrived. Dunberlin thought martial law was a good idea. He's taking orders from Ephile now. Raytheon's nowhere to be found. Took some of my best followers with him. Time to roll up our sleeves and fix this. And yeah, you kind of knew how that turned out, don't you? I don't think Raytheon is behind this personally, even though he is a suspect. I think it's more like he just didn't care what happened here. He gave them their warning. They chose to ignore it, so he just moved on. Took the best people he could and left before they were wiped out by the Necromancer. Let's discuss this, finally, now that I've read all that. So first of all, who the crap hell... What am I in combat with? Oh. A dwarf! So first of all, who the Dark One is that is a file's master, the problem is, like I said, this is a speculation goldmine because we have so little information to really be cohesive on it, other than the bits that I have shown you already. There's no additional information here. No interviews, no answers, no nothing. This is all we got, okay? Some possibilities I toss out. The most common possibilities I hear is that he is working for the Third Lich King. I don't buy that one personally, but I have heard that one. Second possibility I've heard, and this is the one I hear the most commonly, is that he is following Kel'Thuzad. Possible. I have to admit, I have no idea what Kel'Thuzad would be up to if he is in fact a participant here. But it is still possible. Whoa, excuse me. Yeah, exactly, Ner'zhul. The latter, Necro. It is possible he is following some old god or another. We know they do some stuff with necromancy, so that's not unpossible. It is possible he was working for Sylvanas. Lord knows she has been expanding her necromantic retinue and her ability to resurrect new things as undead, and most of these guys were humans, although we notice there are undead... well, no, I guess that's pretty much all the undead here are actually humans, so never mind. And it's possible it's someone completely new. The most common answer that fits all of the pieces for this, in my opinion, is actually the most mundane and the most disappointing, and I hate to say that, but it is, based on what I've seen, it is most likely that what is happening here is this isn't something big, unfortunately. That this is basically one of the surviving members of the Cult of the Damned, and one of the tiny surviving... the Cult of the Damned, of course, being a bruised and broken force at this point in time. And therefore, you know, trying desperately to accomplish something with what's left of the necromantic power they still have at their disposal, and the end. I wasn't even going to bring up the cut content angle, because, yeah. I would be astonished if this is not followed up on in the future. I just don't know how or where. And unfortunately, it looks like, at least as of now, when I've looked into this, nothing in Legion currently follows up on this plot thread. Although, actually, that reminds me, I wanted to ask someone something about that. Let's see if he responded to me. Looks like no additional information. So we know Raytheon's in Legion. Oh! Oh. Okay. Apparently Raytheon was removed from Legion. That's interesting. Either way, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to, you know, speculate here, I've kind of given all the speculation I got. There's so little to work with here that is basically the answer as to what the heck is actually going on here. Of course, other than the obvious cut content answer. I imagine a content patch would at least continue this thread. Yeah, so for those of you not aware, there was an entire quest chain about Raytheon attempting to use time-lost proto-drake eggs and using Titan magic on them in order to craft new black dragons. Okay? That was a whole... I feel free saying this because it's not in Legion anymore. It has been removed, and they have rewritten the quest chain in its entirety and replaced Raytheon with some other random individual who I didn't even recognize. Yeah, apparently there's just some other random black dragon. It is possible that's a red herring, and they're just doing that to throw speculation wild, and it'll be back to being Raytheon in the future. Oh. But, yeah. So, moving on. Let's see. Yes, Vandalia, although some of that is speculative. So let's go here next. Actually, let's do this next. So yeah, no idea what they're thinking on that one. We'll see, I suppose. Yeah, but it's not him, Darker. It would actually, I would actually be okay with it being, can never think of his name. The guy in BC. Like, that would actually make perfect sense. That if it was the guy in BC trying to make new black dragons. But whatever. Suppose we'll find out.
Loktar, go with honor.
Let's go deal with the Gobos, shall we?
I've been expecting you.
Now, I know some of you asked me this kind of question, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer right after I answer Equilibrium. Civilian, that's his name, thank you. Question. A Void Lord... Okay. Hang on. Shut up, Manchester. So, the answer to that is actually very simple. Retconning Equilibrium. Originally, the Void creatures were actually demonic creatures, and later on they decided to separate the two, but they didn't want to take away the ability to summon Void creatures from Warlocks. So basically the idea is when you summon a Void Walker, you are actually using Fel power to bind a Void creature, which is something Warlock magic can do, so it's not really that out of bounds. It's not a bad retcon. But that's what's happening when you do that. I'm sorry, when I meant Time Lost, I didn't mean literally the Time Lost. Forgive me, I misspoke. I meant the ones that were there because of the time lock on, I can't think of the name of the place. The place that was time locked. We read about it in Chronicles. Anywho. Goblins!
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the finest garage in Draenor. You need repair, work on your trike, hot rod, shredder, flamethrower, rocket sled? We're the best. Even better than Bragwin. Actually, that's not true. Hi, Bragwin. Hey, you're from that Horde base, right? Glad you made the trip. We could use your help. Have you seen the fungus out there in the water? It's growing faster than a baby Ravasaur from Unguro. If we don't get it under control, the Gearworks is going to be our ruin, just like our last village. Uncle Crixel used to tell me to burn away the red fungus, because it's what makes it grow fast. Okay.
Glad I could help.
Time is money, friend.
We've got an emergency. A bunch of spore drifters have infested the shore. Tore up our spore begone turrets. We're caught with our armor off here. If we don't get those turrets back online, then those spores are going to float into the town. We're going to have another pinch whistle joint on our hands. We need to get that there and manually activate them. Well, you in?
Be good.
Of course they're not Takoida, but other demons can be enslaved through normal demonic power. Or they can have a pact made with them, too. That's also a possibility. And as we all know, the Observers are by far the most affable demons. So this is pretty much the only quest chain in all of Warlords that... Well, that's a lie. One of 3 quest chains in Warlords that really helps to emphasize the Zanger and the threat that the Zanger possess. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Those creatures in the shadows keep busting the turrets as fast as we can keep them operational. I'm supposed to clear them out, but my blaster's completely busted. Damn thing can barely light a candle in this. Could you do me a favor and kill those things while I get my blaster fixed? Just let Gazwitz know you covered me so I can get reimbursed for the repair.
Glad I could help.
Sure. Magic, access to people it could eat, knowledge, fun. Do what you gotta do, Narlex. Good afternoon, Night Forager. Kel'Thuzad. Well, no. Okay, so for those of you not aware, I actually, had a great desire for a pure necromancy class, or hero, I should say, excuse me, in Heroes of the Storm. I even had some rough design ideas for it in my head. And, I wanted that to be Kel'Thuzad. Then they came out with the Necromancer from Diablo 2. And he's not a full Necromancer class, but he's pretty close. So, you know. At this point, Kel'Thuzad probably would be a bit redundant. So in the interests of new gameplay modes, I'll have to say Gul'dan, even though I'd much rather have Kel'Thuzad. I would build Gul'dan's playstyle around burning his own health, resources, his allies' health. You know, just basically constantly hurting himself, but really ramping up the kind of damage he could do, you know? Just really emphasizing what you could accomplish with Fel Magic. They are the same species, if that's a proper term for such a thing, Vandalia. If Kel'Thuzad has his cat, then everything is awesome. Magister, what do we say about turning to Fel Mastery? It doesn't work out in the end, seriously. It never has, to date. Unless you count Sargeras, and even he's debatable. He's just got a longer timer than everyone else does. No, Kel'Thuzad, you're thinking of the rats he stitched together to make them pseudo-Type 1 undead. We're referring to his cat. Whose name I just cannot think of for the life of me. Anyways, yes, so for those of you not aware, Warlocks basically use Fel magic to affect 3 different types of magic. There's pure Fel, which is obvious, that's the green stuff. And then there's the shadowy stuff, and then there's the fiery stuff. In other words, demonism, affliction, and destruction.
What's up?
Hey, good job out there. Couldn't have done better myself.
Keep it real.
Yo!
Hey, you got the dispensers going.
Have a good
Nice job,
one.
babe. Lemmy's gun broke down again, I take it. Good job covering for you. I could use more workers like you.
Keep it real.
Interesting.
Hey, what
Have
was
a good
that?
one.
Miss Pinchwhistle, the mother lode. It just crashed into the mountains south of here. Yeah.
Well, spit it out.
Hey, we got ourselves a crisis here. Our Zeppelin, the mother lode, crashed into the South Mountain Range. It was supposed to be an observation mission. What could have happened? Get down there quick. I'm gonna need your help on this. You with me?
Hurry back.
Let's do it. You got a ride, though? Here you are, Miss Pinchwhistle. About time. Come on, Gazwitz. Of course, ma'am. And now I will reenact the scene from Jurassic Park with a Gromling. No, I kid. It's okay, Night Forger. I'm sure that they're fine. Hey, you're just in time.
Welcome, friend.
Gosh, this is way worse than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to need your hand with the survivors here. Good thing I have you on the payroll. Ah, debris all over the mountainside. The survivors won't make it if we don't do something quick. They need healing now.
Be good.
What's up?
Here's the situation. We need to get this salvage operation moving ASAP. But the ship went down right in the middle of the wasp nests. The ugly bugs are all over the place, and I can't call my team in to stop work until they're taken care of. Kill as many of them as you can, and I'll cut you in for some of the haul.
Be good.
A luxury buggy? That does sound very goblin-y, doesn't it? You know, this is simultaneously frustrating and amusing. I mean, these quests are actually pretty amusing. And pretty horrifying, too, as we get on to later stuff. The thing that really irritates me is the goblins are just kind of here. Remember how I mentioned earlier how they just kind of treat warlords, that is to say Draenor, as if it was right next door? This is kind of what I mean by that. There's an entire group of goblins who are on their second base in the Spires of Arak, because they had time to set up a second base. These are all goblins from our world, obviously, I should say. These are not even the Black Fuse. These are just... actually, what is the name of these guys? I don't remember their faction. But anyways, the goblins. Actually, I think these are our goblins. No, they're not. They're neutral. Who the hell are these people? Either way, the point being that there's just this whole goblin faction here with tons of people and tons of establishment, and they've already got zeppelins. They've actually gotten zeppelins here, which, based on simple logistics and the nature of the portal being closed, means what they actually probably did was they brought through goblins bit by bit with the parts to make zeppelins, and then built zeppelins here. Oh, and I guess I just answered Necro's question for him there. And it irritates me that... no, this is not Venture Company. Not by a long slot. And it irritates me that it's just Warlord is being treated as if it's just next door. I mean, again, I get it. They took the... like I said earlier, if you're going to do something stupid, you should at least make something of it. And since they already decided to abandon the, we're trapped and desperate on a hostile world angle, they just kind of embraced the opposite of that. And were like, alright, no, everyone can come through. By all means. Just bring everything through. It's next door. It's in a bubble, but it's next door.
Yeah, what do you want?
Good work, Valvaxis. Once Gazets gets his team up here, we can get the crewmen back to the gearworks.
Be careful out
Hey,
there.
how you doing?
That's how you do it. As soon as my crew gets here, we can get the work done.
Keep it real.
Miss Kimsey, before we crashed, we saw one survivor. Might be your uncle. Uncle Crixa. Get out of the way! I gotta rescue him!
Time is money, friend.
Wow. Miss Kimsey's one tough nugget, but Pinchwhistle Point is too dangerous for her to handle alone. It'll be a catastrophe for morale if our boss gets infected. I need to get these crewmen back to Gearworks, so I need you to go and make sure she's alright. Her uncle's place is in the tower, just on the other side of the oil fields. I think you should look around for her there.
Have a good one.
Also, I have to say it's fairly in character for the goblins to build a Zeppelin here, even knowing they couldn't get it back to our Azeroth. That just seems very goblin. We'll sort it out later. We can always blow up the Zeppelin, and then bring the stuff through piece by piece. Because the gnomes are crap! I don't know. Real answer. So, ignore the debris we're throwing into the ocean here. And by debris, I mean pollution. We here at the Goblins believe pollution is nature's way of saying, or our way of saying to nature, we love you. Hey, what's this? It's an escape pod. Oh, thanks for getting me out of that thing. Damned hatch jammed shut on me. It's just a luck I escaped on the infected. Only get stuck in a defective escape pod. You really got me out of a tight situation. Zing! Kill myself. Because I got stuck in an escape pod. Yeah, you get the idea. Look, I owe you thanks for helping me out. I grabbed this while I was getting out of town. I figure you can use it better than I can. See you around, Toots. One of the few, they call them vignettes, by the way, is the Blizzard developer term for the event stuff. The treasures and the rare nyatas. I'm not sure why they call them that, but whatever. Hey, you don't look infected. You must be the lady my niece was telling me about. Come on over! So, we'll talk about the infected in a minute.
Time is money, friend.
Good news, bad news. Good news, my uncle's alive! The bad news, his leg is injured and we're surrounded by the infected. My hot rod wrecked. Gotta get him out of here. Uncle Crixel's a tough one, but he won't be going anywhere on a foot with his leg broken. He has a flying machine he brought from Azeroth. How did he get it through the portal? Actually, that's not true. We know for a fact flying machines can go through portals. We actually did that ourselves once in Wrath. I need some parts to fix the thing. My car's wasted. But those broken shredders just outside of town should have what we need. We don't have to break them down by hand, so just use a rocket launcher and blow them apart.
If you ever need anything.
That flying machine's our ticket out of here, but its fuel tank is bone dry. We're right next to the oil fields, but with the infected out there, we don't have time to run up a line, so we're gonna need to improvise. The oil creatures moving by the pumps out there are mighty full of potent mixture. I can drop right into the tank. Grab me some of that oil. We'll be one step closer to getting out of here.
Pleasure doing business with ya.
Look, I didn't tell Kimsey about this because I don't want to hurt her feelings. I chose not to leave Pinchwhistle Point. See, I've been working on a serum I think should be able to cure the infected. But when I tried to test it, I got surrounded. I injured my leg during the escape. I know I'm on the right track, but I need to test it. Do me a favor, take this vial, try it out on one of the infected.
Be good.
Careful with that serum. I'm not exactly sure what the effects will be. By the way, for those of you not aware, the original Deep Run Tram was actually going to run across the ocean, across the continents, and then they changed it later on. Yeah, out of character, not in character. Oh yeah, I like how her driving skill here is... Anywho. I wonder what's in here. Aha! Rum! 180 proof. Let's not drink that. Also, lol. Didn't actually mean to get that achievement, but sure, whatever. It's all good. Let's find us some infected. Actually, no, let's get rid of the oil thing first. Do that, do that, do this. Ah, crap. No, I'm trying to save your life, not destroy it. It's so difficult not to kill people. Why? Why? Oh, God. Oh, my God. I literally can't move. Yeah! Yeah, with my final breath, I curse Zoidberg. Oh, wow, I lived. Look at my move speed right now. Yeah. So, Hi. Let's find an infected and not kill him, shall we? Whoa. That didn't work. And it made him explode. No, Gul'dan has not taken over the Iron Horde yet. He has not made the Fell Iron Horde yet, as it is sometimes referred to. And we will be talking about Gul'dan. I don't really know if talking about him at length is a thing. We've kind of already talked about Gul'dan at length. But we will be talking about him more, yes. Of course you can, Dakota. In certain areas when it's set up correctly. So, not all the time. And personally, I'm pretty sure that the Blood Elf overall political system is much more dictatorship than monarchy. Although I know the difference between those two can be sometimes considered minute. That's true. He's not infected anymore, Night Forager. Technically. He's, I mean, I guess, like, the bits and pieces of him are still infected. And he's probably going to spread now. Yes, Vandalia. It makes him a nobody. At least that makes Death Knight Arthas a nobody. Since Arthas didn't do anything. I'm reminded of a quote from Mass Effect 2. Forgive me for paraphrasing it. What are the symptoms of the plague? Well, first you start coughing blood, then your skin starts to fall off, and then I shoot you.
Yeah, what do you want?
Got any pots for me? Ooh, great work.
Keep it real. Time is money, friend.
Alright.
Interesting. What's up?
It's revolting. Absolutely disgusting. Infuriating, even. Talking about seeing those spore creatures walking around Pinch Whistle Point. Well, I'm working on the machine here. How about you go and kill some of those creatures? I feel better knowing there's less of those things moving around
Pleasure
here.
doing business with ya.
Sure.
What's up?
The serum did what? Ugh, I must have used too much growth hormone. Possibly the mixture just needs to be shaken prior to dosage.
Keep it real.
Have you seen the fungus on the buildings at Pinch Whistle Point? It's only a matter of time till it releases enough spores to infect the whole coastline. The remaining infected that are in the Pinch Whistle Point are far too gone for us to save later on. So let's do the right thing and put them out of their misery. Prevent an even worse outbreak. I made some firebombs that'll burn the fungus down, but I need you to place them while I set up the detonator.
Have a good one.
The infection's getting stronger, so I made some adjustments, and I'm pretty sure I got the right formula now. It should work, but it needs to have less competition with the infected blood for it to have any effect. That means you gotta weaken them before you apply the serum. Get the blood out of them, you know. The infection's getting more advanced. Soon it'll be untreatable, so I got one shot to save as many as we can.
Keep it real.
Actually, it's funny you say that, Magister, because personally I think that's the perfect solution to have the player character pulled forward into an RTS format. Oh, that's not concerning at all. Be cleared! So, I'm sure some of you are wondering, okay, is this the Overgrowth or is this the Zanger? No, this is the Zanger. Like I mentioned earlier, we only have a couple of hints of the Zanger. 3, actually, hints of the Zanger. And this is the second of 3. Basically, they built along the coastline here of the Zanger. And the Zanger, being the Zanger, just kind of slowly grew into them. And given the goblins' lack of safety protocols, it's pretty obvious why the Zanger was able to completely overrun the town and start infecting and infesting the people therein. I mean, really, I'm amazed it didn't happen sooner. It is worth noting again that the Zanger is just kind of... It's not really mind controlling them so much as... There's a term for that in real life, where a plant will basically take over an animal, like an insect or whatnot, and basically make that insect work towards its ends, but there's no deliberate, intelligent design behind it. Because we have the light, Dakoita! And because we take extensive fire baths regularly to ensure that that doesn't happen. That had to have been the longest chain of procs I've ever seen. Did you see how many Divine Storms that was in a row? Yeah, well, there's a term for that. It's the whole, using natural, instincts and pheromones and whatnot in order to control without actually having, you know, mind control. And then that's basically what the Zanger here are doing. Influencing without mind control. Hey, Meter Madeira. It's even further emphasized because when they're freed from the influences of the Zanger, they don't actually... You dick. They don't actually, they're like, you know, oh god, it's horrible. They're like, huh? Where was I? Hey, Cashel. Yeah, I like long Divine Storm procs. I really do. Come on. That's pretty horrifying, Rory. Let's never think about it again. Yeah, no kidding, Formosan. That's basically what we have here. These are effectively zombies, as we've kind of been talking about. No actual intelligent design or deliberate will. You know, not WoW zombies. I just realized I should die up here. There we go. Strategic death. But, you know, more classical, you know, bird zombies. Effectively animals. Or plants. Natch. What? What? Come on. Why do I have to fight you? You're beneath me. We did Talador yesterday, Grace. So no, I didn't skip it. Trying to remember where I place all these things. Oh yeah, there's also this one jumping puzzle that's more or less difficult depending on your race. As you can see, it's super easy on a Blood Elf to get up there and get that. The campaign contributions, that's just like 50 gold. On some races, that's really hard to get. So you notice how the fungus is more or less completely covering the Goblin building there. I'm gonna use a real mount for a second here. Let's see, I need one here. Yeah, by the way, this is even more disturbing. This is a garage. That's the fungal spores having grown in the garage. You know, those ones the size of cars. It's okay. We're unlike the botany, or unlike the overgrowth. Fire will actually work in this case. Well, it's actually worse than that. Never mind. I don't want to inform you of just how bad this situation is. So just don't think about it. It's okay. Everything's gonna be a-okay. The idea here is that the overgrowth can withstand fire if there's something pushing it. But the Zanger doesn't have anything pushing it. It's just always pushing because it's a natural growth. So, you know, it might actually not... I mean, if you burn it, it'll be burned. But it'll probably come back. And yeah, anywho. Try to remember where the last one goes. Where does the last one go? I got that one. Right? Yeah, I got that one. Oh, I didn't get that one. By the way, I like the entire room of explosives. It's just a room of explosives. I mean, go away. So what you're saying, Magister, is if the Blood Elves got taken over by the fungi of the Zanger, everything would be awesome, right?
Welcome, friend.
Hey, how you doing?
Good work. Okay, I just finished setting up the ignition mechanism. We'll be all set. And as a reward, you get the super sterilized blast guard leg plates. Disclaimer: sterilization through cauterization. They're metal leggings that sterilize through cauterization.
Be good.
Great work, Valvaxis. I've already heard from the survivors. They're glad for this second chance at life. You made a real difference today.
Have a good one.
Aye, Valvaxis. We've saved as many as we can, but now we gotta make sure this disaster don't spread no further. The firebombs are wired up, ready to go, and Kimsey just finished working a flying machine, so ready to ride back to the gearworks as soon as we're finished. You done all the hard work, so I think you should get the honors of triggering it.
Keep it real.
Okay. Honestly, that should have been a bigger boom based on what we saw. But I like to just mentally think that we basically dropped a nuclear bomb in this place. This thing wasn't built with many passengers in mind, so find a place and grab on! And I like how there's people literally just on the side there. One of them's hanging onto the wing. Woohoo! We're airborne! Also, ah yes, cordyceps. We have dismissed this. Yeah, I got nothing. And yeah, you can build a salvage yard after you do that quest chain. For anybody curious of how you get that. Whoa! Ugh. Fire does work against the Zanger, but the Zanger will regrow unless you burn all of it, basically. Because it'll keep, I mean, what's left will keep growing, you know?
Hey, how you doing?
Valvaxis, you did fantastic work. Everyone here at the Gearworks owes you big time for what you've done. Here, I want you to know a little something. Think of it as my personal token of gratitude.
Be careful out there.
And I'm gonna join you.
Have a good one.
Just go ahead and get rid of that. Alright, so we did that, we did that. We have to do one more quest, and then we're going to pause for a bit of a lunch thing. What's our time? Yep, that looks like about a good time to do that. Because my intention is to do the entire rest of the zone, which is all basically one major quest arc to do with the Arakkoa, last. And then that will lead neatly into the Spires of Arak, and that'll be the end of the zone for the day. Or the Sky Reach. I keep thinking of the dungeon name as Spires of Arak, even though it's the zone name. A flight combat sim based on WoW. What are you talking about? That's what I play every day. Yeah. Drop the bombs. Yeah, no. Now, a dating sim would be disgustingly popular. Let's hope that never happens. Or worse, an Overwatch dating sim, am I right? Ah, so you're why one of your people spoke of so highly. We may discuss an alliance. But first, the stings! The cursed wasps drone day and night. Their constant aggression taxes me so. I shall do nothing about your offer until these nuisances are dealt with.
Beware the burning sky.
Okay. I mean, if that's all you want, it's me to kill some bugs. I mean, these are Draenor bugs, so they're terrifying. This has to be the only place in the world where giant bugs are actually deadly. No, Necro, I'm afraid not. Ready to be disturbed? There are probably people out there who legitimately would find Garrosh Hellstream attractive. You're welcome. Also, I have no idea Equilibrium. I genuinely don't know on that one. Whoops, that's not a wasp. That's a Ravager.
What are we without the sky?
Yes, that's what I mean, Meter Madeira. Perhaps my rituals will be undisturbed for a few nights at least. Your offer is intriguing. I think we could come to an agreement. I will travel to your people to make arrangements soon. Now be gone! Leave me in peace.
Tread carefully.
It took me a moment to realize who you meant, Cuckoo. Yeah, Theradris. Gorgeous woman, from certain circumstances. Yeah, we're already past that, Big Bad.
What do you need?
Excellent. We have more immediate concerns to deal with until he visits. Dark Ranger Velinara requires your immediate attention, ma'am.
For the Horde.
Lunzel, stand up, soldier.
Hello.
Your bartender, Lunzel, is dying. She's been poisoned and needs an antidote immediately. One of your scouts reported seeing a Shattered Hand orc nearby recently. That's our best bet. There's a small Arakkoa camp to the east that sits near a known Shattered Hand encampment. I suggest we start our search there. I've already spoken to your flight master. I'll meet you there.
Greeting.
He doesn't look anything like his voice actor, that's for certain, Kay. Look up Garrosh's voice actor sometime. Dark Lady, watch over us. We weren't the only ones. So as you can see, the Shattered Hand have been here. Whoa. Very unlikely, Magister. And it's because he put a period in his post, Equilibrium. It interprets that as a website.
I am listening.
The corpses are fresh. The killers must still be nearby. The poison's far more powerful than I thought. We need to find the orc responsible for making it. Master assassins always leave their mark somewhere on one of their kills. It's a calling card. A claim to fame in their circles. This was definitely the work of such an assassin. We should split up, see if we can find some sign of one of the outcast corpses that will lead us to their creator. Rendezvous at the bottom of the hill, Commander. It's actually funny you say that, Big Bad, because Metzen actually has a lot of ink on him, too. Where's the... Nothing of interest on there. Oh, God! The Shattered Hand! Color me shocked. So the Shattered Hand in lore tends to be much more the assassins, the rogue types, and ironically also the berserkers. In D&D terms, they would all be barbarians and, rogues. They're pretty good at it, too. I mentioned earlier the hyper-specialization thing. This zone is basically the only zone we get to really flesh out the Shattered Hand. There's really, unfortunately, not a lot to talk about them, which is a bit of a shame. Of all the Orc clans, the Shattered Hand have the least amount of explanation. Basically, the Shattered Hand clan is a clan of a fairly recent clan, relatively speaking, that's sprung up around Kargath himself. And they're extremely violent, and they're also sadomasochistic. In other words, they actually enjoy the concept of pain, both for themselves and others. So a lot of the times when they torture they will almost always go out of their way to torture someone rather than just kill them, because they believe it's doing them honor. Like, I'm serious. They're not doing it because they hate you, or because they're, or because they, well, okay, they're doing it because they enjoy it, and because they think everyone else is pretty much like them. Therefore, they also think you enjoy it, just like they do. And it's about as messed up as it sounds. Now, you might be like, well, how can an entire clan of orcs come up around that? Well, it's actually easier to explain that than you'd think. Because the Shattered Hand orcs don't actually... The reason they're different than the other clans is because they don't actually perpetuate the same way the other clans do. You know, most clans, they have people, and, you know, they have children and babies and all that fun stuff. The Shattered Hand don't really do that. What happens is members of other clans who happen to be just as diseased in the head, welcome back, someone, as the Shattered Hand are, join the Shattered Hand and become like them. They are a fully recruit-based clan as opposed to a tribal-based clan, which distinguishes them from the other ones. It may, and now on the one hand, some of you might be surprised by the fact, oh, finally, that there's a fairly large number of recruits to the Shattered Hand clan, but it makes perfect sense for two separate reasons, actually. I'll talk about that in a moment, Cuckoo. The first reason why it makes sense for the Shattered Hand to get so many recruits is if you're an idiot and you think, oh, all orcs are evil. The other, much more logical and, well, reasoned reason as to why so many orcs are recruits for the Shattered Hand is because of the fact that they have lived such a degenerate, terrible, violent, horrible, brutal, oppressed, enslaved lifestyle for so long that it's part of that whole cycle of violence thing again. Some of the orcs simply do not have the ability to function as civilized, normal people, and they snap. And those people tend to go and join the Shattered Hand. Exactly, Necro. These are orcs who are wrong in the head. You'll notice that the vast majority of Shattered Hand are all fighter types. They don't have any, with very, very few exceptions. In fact, I can't think of any exceptions off the top of my head. They don't really have, shamans or warlocks, or excuse me, not warlocks, but mages or any other kind of casting thing. They're all just about stabby, which is also a part of that whole mindset being presented there.
What brings you here?
Any luck? I couldn't find anything. What is it you found? Let me see that. GV. We need a name and location, not damned initials. This is my last vial of racking poison. We used it to extract information from its prisoners. It is potent. Coat your weapon with it. Head into the Shattered Hand camp. Engage them as normal and demand answers. The poison will take care of the rest. I've had enough of these orcs.
Hello.
So yeah, oh, hang on. Sorry,
What
one more
brings
quest.
you here?
The Shattered Hand aren't strangers to pain. They cut off their own hand as a sign of their allegiance to Kargath. If you're going to get them to talk, it may take more than my poison. Kill them all. We'll see how far they're willing to go for their beloved warlord. You mean like the Reapers in Firefly, Rory? Oh, right, I should use the poison. Hang on, stand there for a second. You're too late. Our poisoned blades will be at... put me on a hook. Yeah, they also have this big thing about hooks. They like to put corpses up on hooks, and in some cases, living people up on hooks. That doesn't surprise me, Zone. Believe it or not, I haven't actually done this zone on the Alliance. So I'm serious. So, yeah, as was asked, people were asking before about how it is these guys all have the pale look to them. Coldest pain, I've done worse to myself. A lot of these, of course, are former slaves and ones who, as a result of that imprisonment in the mines and whatnot, have become pale. Remember, I mentioned that one of the few ways we know absolutely that an orc can become a pale is because of the fact that they lack exposure to the sun. You know, working underground, working in slave pits, etc. That is how Kargath himself became a pale, after all. So it's not too out of bounds that the majority of these guys are the ones who were similarly exposed to that. There is, of course, an out-of-character reason for that, and that's the fact that they wanted to make each clan visually distinct in some way, and the way to make the Shattered Hand distinct was they made them all look like pales. However, there is, at least in this case, there is an in-lore reason for them all looking like this. So, yay. You're kidding me, Rory. No, that's how they make new Reavers. I theoretically like Kargath here a lot. I say theoretically because he is simultaneously extremely badass. Exactly as he should be. He should be incredibly badass. He's Kargath. And yet the problem is... Well, there's no nice way to say this, but, he got screwed over pretty much the same way Admiral Taylor did. Except, you know, not. Oh, we finally got one who's willing to talk. Our master's assassin name is Ner'zhul Venomshiv. He crafted the poison. He's at the camp down the road, but you'll never stop. Oh! I was gonna say, I think Kargath is pretty awesome, personally, but, you know, whatever. So these are some of the very, very few non-pure melees, the Blood Singers. And they're basically just an enhanced version of melees. These are basically just a specific type of rogue, really, with some enchanted armor. I agree, Zoan. Did give him a proper good fight. Remember, Kargath's entire motivation for fighting us in the raid is because we owed him that one last kill. Keep in mind, Kargath hates that arena, and hates fighting in it. He didn't care about that, he cared about us. But yeah, I'll talk more about Kargath when we actually see him later. Yeah, for those of you not aware, Kargath, I was actually beta testing Heimal, and when he survived and he runs off, basically you chopped off his hand and he runs off. And there's going to be another plot arc in the 6.1 content that was going to elaborate more on his story. And as we've already discussed, they basically kind of abandoned Warlords, so that plot thread got cut off, and instead of him running to escape, he just died in the fight.
I am listening.
This Ner'zhul Venomshiv is as good as dead.
What brings you here?
We need to take out Ner'zhul and his poison recipe while we still have the element of surprise on our side. We need to craft the antidote. This may be our only opportunity. If what you've learned is true, his camp is just south of here. You take him down. I'll make sure his guards don't interfere. Let's get moving. Yeah, I don't think he gives a damn, Necro. Nevertheless, I do think there is an in-lore reason for his behavior in that fight. And I'll talk about it when we get there, because I'll be showing off Heimal on camera. But that doesn't ignore the fact that they pretty much completely screwed over Kargath as a character in that raid. Oh yeah, Formosan. That was absolutely horrifying. That gave me nightmares, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Don't waste my time. You only got me to 10% health. And now you're continuing to kill me. Got him. I think I wasn't supposed to get him there.
I am listening.
So, technically, You're more equipped than I am to dispose of him. Take his formula. Grab as many barrels of his poison as you can. Okay. I'm gonna ignore the trash mobs because I don't give a damn. Yeah, that's the one, okay. I suppose more like the ones that said too much, but yeah. Down you go. I'll take that. Thank you. I sure hope that none of this poison we're gathering, that you know, the Shattered Hand clan, whose speciality is rogues and poisoning, gets back to Sylvanas. I'm sure that would be very unpleasant. Well, I actually kind of mentioned this earlier as one, but the Shattered Hand are damaged for goods. I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. These people actually have issues. We know why Kargath lost his hand. He had to. He had no choice. It was that or continue to rot in there and die. But the others, they're just damaged goods. I have to admit, probably the only thing that really makes me... Well, okay. I look at our Kargath in our timeline, and the one who became part of the Fell Horde, and I look at the fact that he replaced both his hands with blades, and I just kind of go...
Hello.
Do you have everything we need? Excellent. I have a ride back to our outpost ready. We're in luck. The antidote is fairly simple. I was able to make a small amount of it with what I had on me. You should take it to Ner'zhul before it's too late. Okay. Didn't you? Well, yeah, actually, way back in vanilla, the rogue class quests that you got early on were actually given by the remnants of the Shattered Hand orcs, for the Horde, specifically. On the Alliance, you either dealt with the Dwarven organization, whose name I can't remember, forgive me, or SI7. Nah, it's okay. I'm sure they do something even crazier, like make Sylvanas the war chief. Ha! As if. I'll save you.
What you looking for? Me got the good stuff,
Oh,
man.
by the spirits. Me head be hurting.
Be good.
Oh, me head be hurting something terrible. Oh, bless your boss, man. I'll be getting the tavern up and running faster than you'll be believing. Hey, come back here.
I am listening.
Yeah, but okay, bye. It's not like I care. Oh, here she is. This is when she joins the guild. She has skinning. This makes her one of the most valuable, at least back when I was doing this proper, this made her one of the most valuable followers, like, in the game for me. Because barns equaled useful. I don't know if they're really that useful anymore, but yeah. So I went out of my way to get her on both characters that had a barn.
You come get the voodoo.
Your men caught one of the new recruits talking with the Alliance behind your back. She's a traitor, man! She'd be danger to everything you worked so hard for. We have a wyvern ready to be taken to your garrison for proper punishment. Thought you'd want to be dealing with the scoundrel personally. I'll last be seeing her on the back road outside of Axcar. Okay.
You be careful, man.
Well, let's go deal with this traitor to the Horde. Her being impaled would certainly be ironic. Alright, traitor. Traitor!
Will you stop touching me?
Some commander you are. I've been working with the Alliance from the start. It's all over, Warcraft. Come quietly. We'll get you on the first wyvern to prison for treason.
Go forth.
You'll never take me alive. Okay, if that's really your insistence, I'm okay with that. Kind of both, Vandalia. What he was telling was the story from his reality. What we were seeing was the story from this reality. I've got an answer. Here's what we should do with Sylvanas. I'm going to back away a bit because I'm about to be loud. We should take Sylvanas and impale her on the Spires of Rukhmar! What do you think, guys? Beats the crap out of me, Zawan.
How are you?
You've been making the right call, Commander. There'll be no room for her kind in our ranks.
Good to meet ya.
See, when I first got this quest, I was like, sweet! Because I actually thought that, hey, I warned you I was going to be loud. I actually thought we were going to get a option to be like, psst, it's okay. You know, go on, I'm going to let you go. You know, one of those, there's occasionally in WoW, one of those little choices you can make. It doesn't really change anything, but, you know, it makes you feel like you have an impact. And, so, you know. Here, go! Go back to your Alliance friends. Remember, we're working together now. We're not at war anymore. You know, that kind of a thing. But instead, we just freaking kill the crap out of her. So, whatever. So, now is the time for that lunch break I mentioned. We're at about the 3-hour mark, and we're about to start the last quest chain. It's going to go through Spires of Arak. I'm going to get some food in me. I've got a debate if I'm going to do that. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and chop off the local recording. So those of you on YouTube, I'll see you tomorrow.